Did you know that terrible lizards are being found down under in Australia? How did those creatures get there? Did a big meteorite wipe them all out? Or maybe there was a flood? What is the fossil record really trying to tell us, and does it line up with what we read in our Bibles? We'll find out more on this episode of Wonders Without Number. Welcome to Wonders Without Number. I'm David Rives, and today we want to inform and inspire you regarding the wonders we find all around us. An infinite number of wonders that point us directly to our Creator, the God of the Bible. Now, you are no accident. I want you to know that you are special, that you were created in God's own image, that Jesus Christ was and is that Creator, and that He has a plan for your life. God made many different kinds of animals, each with its own unique characteristic. Now, some of those animals eat grass, and I'm sure that we could all make a list. But what eats grass and has a tail like a cedar tree? Well, let's take a look right now. Job 40 speaks of a massive creature that wandered the earth in the past. Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox. Lo, now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. Some Bible commentators in the past have related this creature to elephants or hippopotamuses because truly their large bodies do generate great strength. However, the commentators have been fairly criticized when context is taken into consideration. The passage goes on to say that the creature moveth his tail like a cedar. This definitely doesn't fit any of the proposed animals alive today, which begs the question, does the Bible know best? Well, recently in Argentina, paleontological digs are revealing some of the most complete skeletons of creatures that we know today as sauropod dinosaurs. You've probably seen it in the news. Dreadnoughtus, the titanosaurian sauropod, is being uncovered in South America. Truly a giant with an estimated length from head to tail of 85 feet. Weighing approximately 118,000 pounds. This creature would have been 10 times heavier than the average elephant. Most importantly, consider his tail. Could that tail have been moved like a cedar tree? The Bible told us about these creatures before paleontology uncovered them. Perhaps we should also trust the Bible when it tells us that they were created along with mankind on day 6 in the beginning. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. The term dinosaur is a fairly recent invention. It means terrible lizard. But we can learn of these massive animals right from the pages of our Bible. They've always been right there long before paleontologists tried to describe them. But what we want to talk about today is the fact that those terrible lizards are being found down under. The discovery of dinosaurs in Australia provides evidence of a global flood in Noah's day, and we have with us the creation guy, John Mackay, to tell us about it. Now, John studied geology at the University of Queensland, and over the last 30 years, he's been involved with field research all around the world. He's the international speaker, lecturing on subjects of origins, and he's no stranger to university campuses, where he's participated in many debates regarding the subject of creation and evolution. So join with me now as we meet my friend and very special guest from Down Under, John Mackay. Welcome to the program.
G'day, mate, and good to be here.
Yes, sir. Okay, so what part of Australia?
I'm from the East Coast, and most people over here have heard of Sydney because of the Olympic Games and trade. Well, I'm about 600 miles north of Sydney.
Okay. Well, that gives you a ballpark idea.
It does give us a ballpark. So it's beautifully warm all year, never too hot, never too cold, and it's just luxuriously green in most of the time.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, so tell me just a little bit about your research. What got you involved in this research, and how it's progressed from there?
Okay, well, coming from a non-Christian background and becoming a Christian through, first of all, accepting evolution at high school, realizing that meant I was an animal, which really pleased me. It meant I could do what I wanted. And then by the time I began studying university texts, I had one textbook that, I loved. It was all about how you and I were just overbrained, less hairy orangutans cousins. And then the author threw in a chapter on why there is no God. And personally, I was insulted because what was religion doing in my textbook?
Right.
And as he tried to prove his case, it became very evident he was trying to use an absolute negative, which you can't prove.
Okay.
And I thought, this guy's a moron.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be impolite, but the reality was he was doing something that can't be done. And then he argued that the Bible was just a book of myths and legends. And now that I'm a Christian and can look back, I could say the Holy Spirit was fishing and I was being reeled in, but I didn't know words like that in those days. So I went and got a Bible to see what it said. And I'll be honest, as I read through that book, there was something attractive. I read chapter 1 and it was exactly the opposite of evolution. I could see that, but it was attractive. It was not just about the creation, it was about a person who created. And that book just drew me on until I got to John 14 and became a Christian and analysed the Bible and found Christians should go to church, Christians should get baptised, and that's sort of one side of it. Then doing university studies, needing to rearrange all my subjects so I could find out what's the actual evidence, not just the theories, and then discovering evolution wasn't a very good suggestion at all. Now, I wasn't a creationist yet, but I knew evolution didn't work. That's sort of a bit of the background.
Well, that's great. That's great. And you've been doing this research now for many, many years.
Yes.
And a lot of research on dinosaurs.
Yes, love dinosaurs, particularly digging them up. And now I've got grandchildren. They love to come and look at grandpa's heads and bodies and all these sort of bones we've got from around the globe, and particularly in Australia.
Well, almost everybody loves dinosaurs, especially as a young person. And there's just something appealing, but at the same time, if you've got an average children's book, it's showing dinosaurs and it's showing them as originating 65 million more years ago. This is sort of deceiving in a way because it's stating this as fact and it's drilling it in their heads at such an early age that when they read about some of these creatures in the Bible that certainly appears to be talking about what we might call as dinosaurs, or when they dig in the fossil record and they learn of these things, what's their opinion going to be? Is it going to be one of a biblical perspective, or is it going to be that, just like I read in my children's book, these things lived millions and millions of years ago?
Well, I do a lot of work in schools, including some Christian schools, and I love deliberately to get the kids to face up to what they're thinking, because the teachers will say, oh, we teach them the Bible. And so first question is, okay, kids, when did the dinosaurs live? 100 million years ago, right? And so what's in their heads is the pagan secular view, which means that they actually don't believe the Bible, they just think they do.
That's
and
right.
20 years down the track, most of them won't be in church because they know that, hey, it's not true.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you're being taught in the school system, even if it's a Christian school system, there's still pop culture is instilling these things into their brains. And so what's going to come across? So you're watching a compelling television show, several hours a day, and then you go to school and you may learn the opposite. You go to church and you may learn the opposite. But the prevailing thought may be that these things are millions of years ago.
Yeah, that's why we love to do field trips, even here in Tennessee in the USA, so people can see it and say, I touched it myself.
Well, that's great, and we appreciate you coming to Tennessee all the way from Australia. It's a pleasure to have you here. Now, let's just jump right in. I'm going to give you control of the presentation, and we'll take a look at what you brought.
Great. You can see our website up there, creationresearchusa.org. That's our USA one. And we run a museum in Australia, Creation Museum, which is actually an outdoor fossil dig site. We've actually called it Jurassic Ark, so no apologies to the movie makers or anything. But it's right on the east coast of Australia, and we take little kids and big kids. We take families there, and they have a smashing good time digging up rocks and fossils.
Wow.
So that's one of the things we've done, because we found this deposit many, many years ago. The geologists didn't know it was there, and they've been amazed at some of the fossils like this log. Now, you will see it says it's an Araucaria, which is a Latin term for southern conifer or southern pine tree. Now, what's interesting is I often get asked in America, how come Australia's got such unique things? And I love to remind them of this. These are the same fossils as you have in your Arizona State Forest.
Wow.
And they formed in exactly the same way.
Okay.
So we take crowds to the museum, they dig up the fossils, they have a look at the murals. Oh yeah, we have lots of murals because you and I have discovered the importance of pictures.
Absolutely.
And kids today hardly read by comparison. So we take them all the way through and show them the Bible, particularly this point.
Okay.
In the beginning, God created. It didn't happen by itself. The 21st century of Genesis 1 is nothing happened by accident. But
Yeah.
not just was it created, from Genesis 1 to 11, you read all about the creation in specific detail, and particularly this verse. So I encourage people, if they want to know the difference between creation and evolution, particularly for school use and for kids, concentrate on this verse.
Okay.
God created things after their own kind.